Thank you all for coming. What a great group, and many kudos to Sam and his team for pulling this off, and many thanks to Congressman Clyburn for headlining this event. I guess he'll be here soon. But my name is Michael B. Moore, and I am running for Congress. And I'm running because, like all of you, I care really deeply about family. Maybe for me, it's I'm a little bit more impacted by those who came before me than most, but family is what it's all about. I've got 4 sons, my wife Carla here, and I have 4 sons from 17 to 25. And when I thought, a year or so ago, I started to think deeply about the world that my generation was leaving theirs, it gave me some pause. When I grew up at the tail end of the civil rights movement, 70s into the 80s, even though we were still wrestling with a lot of aspects of that part of our history, there was still an overall sense of optimism, of prosperity. There was this promise, this expectation that children would outperform their parents, that they would just automatically have it better. And when I think about the world today and all the various complexities, I'm not sure that we can be quite so optimistic. And so I felt like I needed to do something. I felt like I wanted to help. We've got a 4-month-old granddaughter. And, as any parent, we love our family and we wanted to do something about it. None of us can choose the families that we are born into. I happen to be born into a family that just understood from the earliest moments that this was an obligation to roll up your sleeves and to try to create the world that they wanted to live in. And so going back to 1868, my great-great-grandfather, who made some history down here, Robert Smalls, he was first elected to the South Carolina legislature, served both in the House and in the Senate before going to Washington and serving 5 terms. He lived in Beaufort and Mount Pleasant, where I live now, are in the same congressional district. And so in effect, I have an opportunity to run for the same seat that my great-great-grandfather served in, which adds just a really enormous frame around this opportunity for me. When I think about the issues, I think about how do we win? So there's a lot of things that you've got to do. You've got to have a great team. You've got to raise lots of money, for better or worse. You've got to really roll up your sleeves and get out and meet the people and listen to people. But at the end of the day, I think about the core issues that impact all Americans, and certainly that impact all of us here in this room. And I just think about just the enormous advantage that I think Democrats have in the numbers. It's why we see Republicans doing all kind of insane things, because they know it's only a matter of time. They know that at the end of the day, someday, the folks who are voting for them are going to wake up and smell the coffee and realize that they are being played, ultimately. When I think about those common things that unite us all, I think about jobs. Look, we all need a job. We all need to be able to take care of our families. The end of that continuum of jobs, we need Social Security, we need Medicare to protect seniors. Democrats are better on jobs. We are out fighting to create a more inclusive economy. We are supporting labor in their effort to protect workers' rights and benefits for workers. Democrats are better. When I think about Social Security, Nancy Mace and others on the right are trying to gut that program and trying to pull the rug out from underneath seniors who have been paying into this system since they were 14, 15, 16 years old. Democrats are better on that issue. I think about the health care conundrum that we all have. Everybody needs access to quality and affordable health care at some point in time in their life. Yet we live in this system where healthcare is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America. There are 110 million Americans mired in healthcare debt. And we can do better. We're the only major industrialized nation that believes that it's appropriate to monetize illness and injury in the way that we do. And we can think about that better. Think about building on that. Think about women's reproductive freedom. It feels absolutely medieval for me that this country now, women don't have the ability to make decisions about their own bodies. But even beyond that, and I have full-throated support for women's reproductive freedom. Beyond that, I support the Equal Rights Amendment. I support pay equity. I support all kinds of programs to protect women from domestic violence. I support, it's well known that healthy communities, at the core, the women are healthy in all the various roles that they are. So it just makes all the sense in the world, and we support that in a full-throated way. The environment. Again, I've got a 4-month-old granddaughter, and I read some research not long ago that said that by 2100, which, maybe I won't be here, but certainly she will, that 8 million people are going to need to be relocated from the coastline because of climate change. Like, we got to get serious about this. We all need, the integrity of our coastlines. We all need clean air. We all need, clean water. And Democrats are better on that. Gun safety, the number one cause of death of young people in this country is gun violence. That is a value judgment that we as a nation are making. We're saying that it's more important to adhere to the NRA's interpretation of the Second Amendment than to protect our children, our families, our communities, and there are a whole host of reforms that the vast majority of Americans agree with, that we just need to have some people in Washington who have the resolve, the backbone to get that done. And then the last point that I'll say, and there's lots and lots of issues, but the last point I'll say is that we can't take democracy itself for granted anymore. That's right. January 6th taught us that, if nothing else did. I gave a speech on October 11th, which was the opening day of the oral arguments for the gerrymandering case for the 1st District. I was at the, I hope that was not for the gerrymandering. But I gave a talk on the steps of the Supreme Court, and it was sort of surreal, Here I was there, fighting, talking about the notion of one person, one vote, talking about the institutions of democracy that we need to hold dear to, knowing that my great-great-grandfather was gerrymandered out of a seat 150 years ago. And the poetry of that was just, was really meaningful. So in any event, we can, and obviously we're preaching to the choir here because you all are here, but democracy is something that we have to, hold dear, we have to fight for, or else who knows what's going to happen. So I would just simply say, I want to summarize all that in closing. So this is the audience participation part of this. I want to just sort of pressure test my thinking here. You tell me. So I'm going to go through the issues really quickly, and I want you all to tell me which of these issues, who's better, Democrats or Republicans? I need to know. So jobs. Who's better on jobs, Democrats or Republicans? Democrats. Healthcare. Who is fighting to keep drug costs down and to make a system where it doesn't create both a health risk and a financial risk as well? Who's better on healthcare, Democrats or Republicans? Democrats. Who's better on women's reproductive freedom? Democrats. Who's better on education? I didn't mention that before, but my great-great-grandfather wrote the legislation to create the first free statewide public school system in America here in South Carolina. We're the ones that are out talking about how to fund and how to ensure that our children have the best opportunity for just to live the best life that they can. Who's better on education, Democrats or Republicans? Democrats. The environment. There are still Republicans who won't admit that the environment is even an issue. Who's better on the environment? Democrats. Gun safety. Democrats. So I think how we win is that over the last couple of months, I've talked to lots of people, and there are lots of pockets of Democrats all around the state. And a lot of times people, they say, well, we're kind of underground, we don't want to get out. We've got to yell from the rafters about what we believe in, because at the end of the day, not only is it good for Democrats, it's good for America. And that's what we're out doing. We're fighting to get our message out. We're going to hold Nancy Mace accountable for the enormous gap between what she says and what she does. And, so those of you who are on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, come check us out there. You'll be entertained. And our website is michaelbmore.com. So thank you very much.